Kia ora koutou, everyone, and welcome to today's Wellbeing Bite. And joining us, we have Jason Johnson, who is the Across School Lead from the Māwhera cluster. Kia ora, Jason.
Kia ora, Ara. Kia ora, everyone watching.
Do you want us to tell us a bit more about yourself just before we dig in?
Wow, okay, yeah, so I've been teaching on the west coast of the South Island for, it's a few years now, probably about 25 years, and over that time have evolved into doing work more sort of around supporting other teachers and also working with students with challenges and learning needs. So yeah, I'm a family guy, live on the coast here. My daughter's home for lockdown, which has been lovely. And yeah, I enjoyed the garden, which is looking pretty good at the moment, and walking on our lovely beaches. Here you go.
Lovely. And something that I really enjoy when Jason and I connect is he really has a human touch with people, really personable and very present when connecting with individuals. And that's part of what we want to talk about today, is that idea around connection and how we can connect to our learners and also our colleagues at a distance. Now, to begin with, Jason, you spoke about how this piece of work, considering the current circumstances we are in at the moment, has been made somewhat easier given that your school's journey around wellbeing and the cluster's journey around wellbeing. Would you like to tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I guess that came from some reflection around what are we doing in response to COVID? Is it enough? Are we supporting the students and the teachers in a way that they need to be and that's effective? And it sort of just dawned upon me, I guess, talking to Ara, that actually because we've started this conversation well before COVID was around or existed, some of the response to this situation has been more natural and easier than I guess any of us expected, which is kind of interesting, because then you're left in a space where you're thinking, oh, should I be doing more? Should I be looking for new resources or other new interventions? When actually, when we reflect, there's stuff happening already, or we've got a foundation, I guess, and we've started that conversation. So that makes the response a lot easier, I think.
So you talked earlier about the idea of that your school already had a wellbeing framework and a consistent language in the way you talked about wellbeing.
Absolutely. So we settled on Te Whare Tapa Whā as our framework quite a few years ago, actually. And the last few years, we've spent time and energy kind of unwrapping that, moving that into a more functional, pragmatic model rather than theoretical or philosophical, I guess. So bringing it into what does that actually look like in our lessons? What does that look like in terms of how we talk to students? So more recently, the idea of functioning well and feeling well came up as I guess, a way to question students and staff around, where you're at right now. So we can use that language, and that language is common to students. It was before COVID and it will be after. So that's been, it's been wonderful. So setting up our website to respond to online learning, one of our hubs is Wellbeing Hub, and within that we define what Te Whare Tapa Whā is, and then we've started adding blogs or articles around certain aspects of wellbeing, which we then will tag back to what the different dimensions Te Whare Tapa Whā and other sort of key hot words. So yeah, that's been great. And I guess part of the conversation I had with Ara earlier was that when we were talking about how to set up that website, how to respond, as teachers and as the leaders looking at that, we actually were reflecting on the language and the teaching that we've already done, and then how to kind of bring this into this current space, which has been quite a nice, reasonably smooth transition with lots of people that have got lots to offer as well.
Beautiful, Jason, and I love the way you describe that. So what I hear you saying is you are really reframing and nuancing the wellbeing conversation that you've already been having as a cluster of schools into a much more targeted approach at this time. And we went into the space about talking about connecting with our learners from a distance and our colleagues, because of course that is new to many of us.
Absolutely. And I guess, for me, it's been a bit of a reframe, I guess, in terms of you mentioned my connection. I believe the connection that I have with my colleagues and students is that kanohi to kanohi, the face-to-face, the two beings, the two people being in the same space together. That's where I find the connection is easy, whereas all of a sudden I'm having to do that and we all are, via computer screens, which feels to me initially as a bit of a disenabler, like, oh, is this possible? But actually, when you cut through some of the barriers, there are ways to do it. And I guess one of the examples would be the use of the check-in sheet for the students, and it was an idea shared through Flourishing Post that we're now doing on the Wellbeing's page, where one of our teachers is giving the students an opportunity to reach out there almost anonymously, although we record it, and then we've got the potential to go back and sort of talk to them about anything they might have brought up. And likewise, I guess online, when I'm working with teachers as the dean, I'm checking in with them and seeing how their check-in goes with the students. So they are connecting with all their students in the first week or so of this term. They've rung all the homes and connected with the families just to make sure they've got the logistics sorted in terms of computers and internet, but also to get a bit of a feeling on how everyone's functioning and feeling, and then to see if there are supports we can offer them as whānau units. So there's kind of like that, I guess the hierarchy of, and not in I guess this hierarchy of communication still exists, and we're utilising those existing sort of structures in terms of teacher, mentor, dean, to now still support each other in the work we do, but in an online sort of context.
So what I hear you saying, Jason, is you've already working off this shared language around wellbeing. I love that notion of check and connect. Yes. I know that's a phrase taken from the positive behaviour for learning world.
Absolutely.
Which works quite well. And clarity and communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important. And we've shared, and it's at different times. So as a dean, I've shared my contact details, personal contact details, and they've done the same. So there's an open invite at any point to get in touch if need be, as there are with students. Some of the students that I guess we could consider more at risk. Our school is we're recording contacts with all students, and there are more contacts being made with some when we feel the need's there. And personally, I've sort of emailed those students to say, how are you getting on? Connecting with something like, I know TikTok's pretty big for one of them, and talk to them about the fact they just got X number of likes on their latest TikTok thing. That opens a conversation up, and then it's like moving into how, when are we going to be back at school, et cetera, et cetera. So it's sort of just opening that door for conversation. And talking to Ara earlier, I also, I guess, reflected on, I wouldn't have considered having a social connection with someone via the video calls so much before this, even though it was an option. I'm finding myself socially in my personal life now connecting with friends from all over the country, and actually, having a relax on a Friday night together in front of the screen. It seems a little superficial at first, or a bit unreal, but actually that person is there and they are present. So there is that connection happening. So I guess we're all being maybe opened up to the possibility of connection in this way more than we have ever before. Maybe it's just me, because I was a bit later to social media than others.
Oh no, that's lovely sharing. I'm just kind of listening to you and taking it in. And so just finally, just to close, are there any key messages that you would like to leave for colleagues, schools that are not as far along the track with regards to the wellbeing conversation?
Well, I think primarily, and it's been said by others, looking after yourself first and not feeling the pressure to work as hard. Well, that doesn't, I mean, we're all working hard, but like for me, a lot of my work isn't done in front of a classroom. So I've struggled a bit initially to, you know, am I doing enough? Am I connecting enough? Am I supporting enough? But actually feeling comfortable that the work you've done before has helped us to where we are now, and just trusting that, you know, trusting that your bit's enough. And I guess the next advice would be just being available and open to each other. So there is that real, you know, I'm actually struggling here. Can you help me out? Have you got some ideas about, you know, so we can actually really be there for each other. For me, they're the key things. And be, you know, realistic expectations on yourselves and your students.
Lovely.
Cheers.
Thanks so much, Jason.
See you on the other side.
Yeah. Bye.